Welcome back everybody to another episode of Direct Comparison. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at the recently released PC version of Spider-Man Miles Morales, and see how it compares visually to the original release of the game on the PlayStation 5. For this analysis, the PS5 version of the game will be set to its fidelity mode, locking performance to 30 frames per second at a base 4K resolution. There are, of course, other options available like a 60 FPS performance mode, a 60 FPS performance ray tracing mode, and even options for higher refresh rates with compatible displays. But for the sake of maximizing the potential image quality, we're going to keep the game locked on its fidelity mode for now. Meanwhile, the PC version is much more flexible, and will be set to a locked 4K resolution, with all of the graphics settings cranked up as high as possible and DLSS disabled. For some of the footage I captured, like these extended gameplay sequences here, I did play with the new DLSS 3.0 option enabled, as this not only improved performance, but seemed to have a negligible impact on overall image quality. But for all the actual side-by-sides where I'll be comparing visual quality between platforms directly, I did disable these upscaling and frame generation options to ensure the highest possible visual fidelity. And as always, motion blur options have been disabled for this analysis for cleaner image capture. Alright, so let's kick this comparison off by first looking at the design and quality of the character models, starting with our lead character, Miles Morales. Now, right away, the very first thing you'll probably notice here is a distinct difference in the coloration between the PC and PS5 version. Miles' skin tone looks much brighter now, as do his jacket and other accessories in the scene. Though, as we'll soon learn, this seems to have more to do with the change to the game's ambient lighting during the scenes, rather than any direct alteration to the model itself. All the same high-res texture maps used before are still right where they should be. And while there are a few small details, like the edge of his ear that appeared cleaner on the PC, these visual improvements are minimal, and likely not going to be noticed by most. Those lighting changes, though, do contribute to what I feel is a slight degradation to the quality of most scenes, as it very often hides some of the great detail that specular lighting previously highlighted. Take Miles' face in this scene, for example. When viewed up close, it almost looks as though the skin has a lower resolution texture map applied, with a blurrier surface and less defined details. But I believe this is because the added bloom and light reflecting off of the skin is actually hiding a lot of those smaller details instead, especially when considering darker details like the hairs on top of his head actually do look more pronounced on the PC. But then, when we see Peter Parker from this other angle, the lighting changes can actually be seen accentuating details on his face that weren't quite as pronounced previously. This isn't the only time either. Later, during this dinner scene, we can actually see more details on Finn's face because of the changed lighting, along with much more accentuated texture along her sweater. It really just goes to show just how important lighting can be in a scene, and why having too much of it can end up hiding important details. Aside from that though, the improvements to the character models are slim to none, with only the smallest bits of improved geometry being present on the PC version. Though, it is nice to see that things like the forced motion blur effects in scenes like this one are no longer an issue on PC. Next, let's talk about the environments. Now, just like the Spider-Man remastered release on PC a few months ago, Miles Morales on the PC doesn't do too much to differentiate itself. The game already looks absolutely phenomenal on the PS5, with an unbelievable amount of detail in even the smallest decorative objects, some that still blow my mind to this day. Once again, there is a slightly increased draw distance when swinging around this holiday-themed version of New York, with less noticeable pop-in for both larger geometry like buildings, and smaller details like NPCs, vehicles, and decorative street clutter. However, it is worth noting that the PC version doesn't seem to load as efficiently as its console cousin, as load times are considerably longer, even when loading the game from an SSD. Other than that though, the environments in both versions of the games are gorgeous and have very few visual compromises between them. The lighting is where we do run into a few major differences though. As I mentioned before, almost every cutscene seems to have been altered in some way, with some new white light that a lot of times seems to wash away some detail. It's unclear exactly why this was put in place, though it does at least help characters stand out a little bit more against the dark backgrounds of certain scenes. But this is nothing compared to the disappointing ray trace reflections. Miles Morales on the PS5 features some fantastic ray trace reflections that, while not perfectly accurate reconstructions of the environment, do add a great touch to scenes like this one. Unfortunately, the PC version doesn't look nearly as impressive in this particular scene. In fact, it almost looks downright broken, as there doesn't seem to be any real-time reflections at all on this rear glass pane. Thankfully, this isn't always the case. Most reflections actually do look better on the PC than on the PS5, including the glass windows outside and around the city, and those reflections shown in the red parts of Miles' suit. So my guess is that this particular scene just isn't functioning properly right now, or it's just not rendering reflections in the same way as the PS5. Shadows, on the other hand, have been improved pretty much across the board. Shadows from the player model and nearby NPCs now appear slightly crisper when projected on nearby surfaces, whereas before these shadows were a bit blurrier. And then larger objects like buildings cast softer shadows at the edges, which can be seen nicely here, where this building shadow now appears softer rather than overly sharp. There's also a few shadows that have been added into smaller details like this Christmas decoration, adding further depth to each scene. Next up, we have effects. Now, the effects haven't really received very much of an update between the PS5 and PC version. Fire, explosions, and the many different mixtures of colored particle effects appear more or less the same, perhaps with a few more particles at any given moment. Smoke effects similarly use the same alphas as before, and things like water simulation also appear identical, with the only exception being the slight alteration to the color tone due to the lighting. But they're otherwise all about the same. The only thing I'll add before we get to the sound comparison is that the UI prompts and menu items are still suffering from that same issue that I mentioned a few months back, where they don't seem to be matching the game's resolution, resulting in some slightly blurry text and windows when compared to the rest of the game. So, if possible, I would like to see some sort of option to increase the fidelity of the UI for higher resolution displays. Finally, let's wrap up with a brief sound comparison. Now, technically, both versions of this game should sound about the same, but if nothing else, this will provide a few samples of the game in action on both the PS5 and PC version, and demonstrate the benefits of the PC's unlocked frame rate. Even still, which version, if at all, features the superior sound quality?
The convoy.
Convoy?
Not yet. We're still securing a couple inmates.
Man, it feels good seeing the guys who escaped last year going back to the raft.
Real good. The raft's an eyesore, but it's secure. As long as the octopus-related flaws have been fixed.
Let's hope. Okay, closing in on you. Be there soon. Let's go! Hey, Pete. Headed your way. Did I miss the convoy?
Not yet. We're still securing a couple inmates.
Man, it feels good seeing the guys who escaped last year going back to the raft.
Real good. The raft's an eyesore, but it's secure. As long as the octopus-related flaws have been fixed.
Let's hope. Okay, closing in on you. Be there soon. Can't let Pete down. I need to get this under control.
No, wait. Whoa, great arm. You ever hit? Seriously, you're AAA easy. Whole new career just waiting for you.
guy up close like this! Can't let Pete down. I need to get this under control.
Rhino, wait! Great arm! You ever pinch? Seriously, you're AAA easy! Whole new career just waiting for you!
Man, he's too good.
How are the streets, Spider-Man?
Honestly, it's kind of terrifying.
Christmas in New York! Love this town!
Never see the big guy up close like this.
Freaking nuts!
Oh, hey, sorry, happy holidays. Pete, scale of 1 to 10. How we doing?
10 for generating spectacle, 1 for minimizing destruction. Tomorrow's Bugle headline's gonna be a doozy.
Worst thing out of this is a bad headline. I'ma count us lucky. Oh, crap, doing her bad. Pete, this is starting to feel real bad, man.
Don't think like that. We're going to stop him, as long as we work together. Speaking of, I'm giving you a hand up here.
Yeah, I got you. Oh, hey, sorry, happy holidays. Pete, scale of 1 to 10. How we doing?
10 for generating spectacle, 1 for minimizing destruction. Tomorrow's Bugle headline's gonna be a doozy.
Worst thing out of this is a bad headline. I'ma count us lucky. Oh, crap, doing her bad. Pete, this is starting to feel real bad, man.
Don't think like that. We're going to stop him, as long as we work together. Speaking of, I'm giving you a hand up here.
Yeah, I got you.
And that wraps up this episode of Direct Comparison. Overall, Spider-Man Miles Morales is yet another phenomenal PC port for PlayStation Studios. The game runs beautifully on the PC, arguably better than the previous Spider-Man Remastered, and the immense amount of customization options and the accessibility features make this a great option for players looking to continue the Spider-Man story. It's also already fully compatible with Valve's Steam Deck as well, which will make for a great pick-up-and-play title along with the previous Spider-Man release. My only concern with this port at the moment are the odd lighting tweaks that have been made, and what seems to be some bugged ray trace reflections that in some cases look worse than the console version. But other than that, the PC version is definitely another worthwhile addition to Sony's growing library of PC titles. So, what do you guys think? Are you impressed with Miles Morales' debut on the PC? Or do you prefer the look and feel of the PS5 version still? Let me know in the comments section. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this posted every week.